Hi, welcome back. Hi. Hi everyone, welcome back to Montreal in real life. I'm Montreal, and welcome back to The More You Know. So today I'm going to be talking about sympathy versus empathy. Just to start off, I'm going to just be reading the dictionary definitions for both of those words. First, sympathy is defined as feelings of pity and sorrow for someone else's misfortune. The dictionary definition of empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So why is understanding the difference between empathy and sympathy important? Not to say that one is better than the other, but in terms of understanding narcissistic personality disorder and dealing with a narcissistic abuser, it is important to differentiate the feelings that you have, if they're sympathy or if they're empathy. So the narcissist themselves doesn't really care about empathy and they don't understand it. They have a really hard time comprehending someone else's feelings. So it's not really the empathy within them that you need to look for, it's the empathy within yourself. It's self-regulating your own emotions. You know, as human beings, we tend to be really okay with just lending ourselves to others, which isn't a bad thing, but you have to recognize why you're doing it. For example, you can empathize with someone and understand where they're coming from, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to give something to them besides your understanding. With a narcissist, you'll often mistake your sympathy for empathy. Alright, they work really hard to make you feel guilty, make you to believe that they need help, and they know that you're a caring person and will be willing to give them that help, but you have to remember, are you giving them that help because you feel pity for them, because you feel bad? Sympathy is a huge manipulation tool that a narcissist will use. That's what they look for, that's what they dig for. They will even put on shows and displays of great distress to gain your sympathy, to guilt you or to make you feel bad enough for them that you will do what they ask because you feel bad. And that's okay, that's a human normal thing. Now, I'll give you a quick example of how this can come into play and maybe how you can differentiate. Because a lot of the time, like I said, a narcissist will always be in conflict. So one, they get you to feel bad for them, saying things like their friends have died or their aunt has cancer, all things which totally might be true. But, you have to practice lending your empathy, just being understanding, but not giving anything else. Empathy is more like how the definition says, understanding a person's feelings. So you can relate to it, like, my uncle died. Oh, I know how it feels to lose a family member. I know what grief feels like. Even if you haven't experienced that exact same thing, you can understand the feeling of emotion and sadness and pain, and you can be there to support them. And to support someone doesn't mean throwing yourself at their every whim and doing things for them. Supporting them just simply means understanding, like, hey, I understand if you need to talk, but also by maintaining your own boundaries as well. Like, if you need to talk, I'm available from 4 to 5. Empaths, we need to learn this, how to just be empathetic, period. I'm gonna do another video on the toxic savior, which is the toxic side of being empathetic. Alright, that's something that they have to deal with, and you can't let them use that as an excuse to treat you poorly. One of the ways that you can tell this is being used to induce your sympathy is it'll often come in the form of an excuse for a behavior. I'm treating you poorly because my friend died. Or the reason I'm acting this way is because my aunt has cancer. You don't understand, you're not listening to me, I can't help it. I can't help the way that I talk to you when I'm feeling this way. So we all know that just because something's happening to you or just because you're in pain doesn't mean that you can cause someone else to be in pain. It doesn't give you an automatic right to do that, and people are perfectly capable of maintaining their emotions and dealing with their grief without lashing out at others. Another way that you can tell they're being sympathy-inducing is because they'll start to put on a show, like a really dramatic display. This is something you can tell you're dealing with because it feels insincere, it feels weird to you. It's like, seriously. It just feels off, okay? I can't explain it, but you can tell like it's not completely sincere. And it's dramatic. They're drama queens, like, for real. Many people will diagnose their narcissist with something clinical like depression or bipolarity before they realize that the main factor in their maltreatment is just abusive behavior. Because a narcissist, it's totally possible that they have one of these things like depression or bipolarity at the same time as being a narcissistic person, but that's not the reason that they're lashing out. They'll definitely try and garner your sympathy from that. So the narcissist will have you thinking that they have some type of clinical need and you're going to try and give them resources and make appointments for them. But at the end of the day, they can only take care of their issues themselves. You have to remember that. Because after all you do all these things, they're still going to deny that they have any issue or lean into it only when it's convenient for them to manipulate you. Have you setting up all these appointments and then they're never going to go, because the reality is that the narcissist thinks that they're exponentially unaffected by any kind of human ailment. And they're honestly just putting on all these shows and having you set up appointments just to keep you occupied. So you try, it kind of looks like this person may be going through something and they're just kind of like denying it and unwilling to get help. And then, that's kind of like your own justification. Literally, we gotta cut that out. We gotta stop diagnosing people on our own accord, okay? I mean, I'm sitting here making a video about narcissistic personality disorder and telling you that I've been in situations with people who have it. This abuse isn't clinical, so I'm technically not diagnosing anyone, but things like depression and other mental illnesses are clinical and they need someone professional. And you, the girlfriend, you, the child, you can't diagnose that. And here's an example that I want to give you. A few times it was that my narcissist couldn't feed himself. And that is something that could be common with someone who has depression. I know it's something I experienced in my own bouts of depression where I just didn't have the motivation or the energy to get up and go make dinner or go buy dinner, okay? A few times my friends brought me dinner and I'm really thankful for that. And that is the difference, is someone who may seriously be dealing with depression, 1, probably isn't gonna tell you that they're not eating, 2, probably isn't going to ask you to go get them food, and 3, if it turns out that you did just bring them food, they're probably gonna be thankful for it and appreciate you and not make you feel guilty about it. Okay, in my experience, a person with depression isn't like trying to bring attention to the ways that they're suffering. A narcissist who is trying to gain your sympathy will make a show of it. Make a show of, oh, I'm not eating. And then when you offer to go and get them food or to cook them a meal, they're going to guilt you by pretending like they're some kind of burden. Like, oh no, please, like, it's too much to do. I don't want to ask you to do that. Please just let me starve. They're going to be very dramatic about it, like to guilt you into like going to go get them food, because of course you don't want them to think like, oh, you're just going to let them starve. And then when you do, it's not like, wow, I seriously appreciate that. It's like, you shouldn't have done this. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve your kindness. They use self-deprecation a lot, but a lot of people do, but I hope that example makes sense. That's the only way I can explain it, and that's a true story. And the last major key I want to give you into realizing when someone is trying to garner your sympathy versus when they might actually be needing your empathy is when this kind of thing happens, it's not sporadic, okay? Someone who actually is dealing with depression or bipolarity isn't necessarily on a timer. Things may happen that kind of just throw them back into that, or it could be chemical and uncontrollable, like it just happens, okay? It truly just happens. Versus someone like a narcissist is going to make it happen during a time when you're probably doing really well. Probably when you're celebrating or you're happy about something and they need the attention back on them. It will most definitely come either as an immediate excuse for their maltreatment of you, or will be used later to justify why they're treating you a certain way in the future. So to recap, it's always accompanied by an excuse. It's very dramatic and attention-seeking, and it's going to come at the perfect time, right when they need to loop you back in, right when you're feeling suspicious or when you're actually feeling good about things. It's just gonna come to rain on your parade, because at the end of the day, it's truly about making you feel a certain type of way, making you feel bad or feel guilty for them. And I want you to remember this. If someone needs you to feel bad enough for them to like them, then that's not someone that you want to be with. If you liked today's video and found it informational, please let me know. Go ahead and check out more of my content. Be sure to hit subscribe, and thank you for watching.